ठीक है मैम इसी के गाँव में इसी के
ये सेम अच्छा
मैं इसको कनेक्ट तो नहीं कर
चालू
ओके
हेलो मेघवाल जी चालू गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीबडी वेलकम on this cold day, and I hope a lot of warmth will be generated by the lecture, I'm sure. So dear friends, we are carrying on this series of lectures since 2014, keeping up with the tradition of lectures on Nobel Prizes in Science, which we used to hold in schools and colleges in Chandigarh. We started in 2014. In 2020, with the advent of COVID-19 and the lockdown, the scope of this activity suddenly expanded. We started arranging these lectures on the Zoom platform with speakers selected from a broader spectrum of institutions and locations. With time, we got help from INYAS, the Indian National Young Academy of Science. Then, economics, literature, and peace were added to our repertoire. Now, this is a joint program with Chandigarh chapters of the Science Academies, INSA and NASI, besides INYAS. And Trixie is on board too. Financial assistance has been forthcoming from project grants, from DST Chandigarh, Department of Science and Technology Chandigarh, and sometimes from none, but we have been carrying on this activity. The current series is again supported by DST Chandigarh, and we have already held the lectures on physiology, chemistry, and literature, Nobel Prizes, in October and November. Today is the turn of economics. The remaining two lectures will be held very soon, in spite of our tardiness. Why I'm calling it tardy this time is because generally the philosophy is that in October, as soon as the prizes are announced, we start looking for speakers and we start holding them. And by 10th December, which is the day of the Nobel Prize giving, by that day our lectures are finished. So we see the Nobel ceremony online. But this time, for many reasons, we have not been able to do it, but we will complete this series very soon. So without much delay, I would like to start the proceedings of today. Before we start, let me extend a formal welcome to today's speaker, Professor Upinder Sani from our economics department, Punjab University, Professor Anil Monga, Center of Police Administration, Punjab University, will introduce guest of honor, Professor B.S. Gumman, and then we have Dr. Nitin Arora, again from the Department of Economics. Also present among us are Professor Arya and other dignitaries. Thank you, students, for joining us. So now I request Professor Anil Monga to come up and introduce today's guest of honor. Professor Monga.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a matter of great honor for me to introduce today's guest of honor to all of you. A person who embarked on his professional journey as a lecturer within our university, demonstrating a passion for education and a commitment to fostering knowledge. Through years of unwavering dedication and an innate humility, he navigated the academic landscape with grace. His story is one of resilience and hard work, gradually ascending the ranks to assume the prestigious role of Vice Chancellor of a renowned university. Along the way, he embraced challenges, exemplifying the values of humility, dedication, and unyielding work ethic. Today's introduction is not just a recognition of his professional accomplishments, but a celebration of the character traits that have defined his success, qualities that inspire and uplift those fortunate enough to work alongside him. Let us express our appreciation for a leader who embodies the spirit of excellence and service in academia. Ladies and gentlemen, he is none other than Professor B.S. Ghuman, former Vice Chancellor, Punjabi University, Patiala. Professor B.S. Ghuman was born in a small village near Sangrur and after completing his education, joined as lecturer in the Department of Public Administration, Punjab University. He became member of Punjab University Senate twice, member syndicate, Dean Faculty of Arts thrice, and served on various academic bodies of Punjab University. He is founder chief coordinator of Center for Emerging Areas in Social Sciences, under which three new interdisciplinary programs, namely Masters in Police Administration, Human Rights and Duties and Social Work, were started by the university. He has also been instrumental in establishing the Canadian Studies Centre at Punjab University. Professor B.S. Ghuman has made significant contribution in the neighboring universities too. He was on the Senate of Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. He was also member of Academic Council of Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law, Patiala. Professor Ghuman has served as an expert on number of committees of UGC. He was also peer team member of NAC. About his research credentials, Professor Ghuman has published 73 papers and 3 books. He has also guided 17 PhD theses and 17 MPhil dissertations. He has completed research projects, out of which 3 are international projects. He has participated in more than 100 conferences, seminars, out of which 20 were held abroad. He was editor-in-chief, Punjab University, Research Journal Arts, beside being member of editorial boards of several international journals. Professor Ghuman has rich experience of working with several international educational institutions and had good understanding of higher educational administration across the globe. He has visited large number of countries, namely Canada, UK, USA, France, Hong Kong, Australia, and many more. Professor Guman's expertise has been widely utilized by the government. He was appointed member 6th Punjab Finance Commission. He has also been Chief Finance and Economic Advisor, Punjab, member 5th Pay Commission, Punjab, and ex officio member of Punjab Governance Reforms Commission. Professor B.S. Guman has several awards to his credit. He was conferred with Paul H. Appleby Award by Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi, Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Achievers Award by Punjab Government, Punjab Ratan Award by think tank named All India Conference of Intellectuals, and Lifetime Achievement Award by New Public Administration Society of India, Nepasi. Respected sir, you are truly a role model for many sitting in the audience today. On behalf of the organizers, I express my gratitude to you for having accepted the request of being a guest of honor in today's lecture. I request everyone present to kindly join me in welcoming Professor B.S. Guman with a big round of applause. Thank you. Professor B.S. Guman.
Good afternoon, friends. I express my sincere gratitude to Professor Arun Grover, former Vice Chancellor, Punjab University, Patiala, who contacted me for this honor. Shri Dharmbir ji, Professor K.R. Dharmbir ji, and organizer of sponsoring institutions for inviting me as a guest of honor for this function. Professor Anil Monga, in his introduction, very difficult for me, when I was listening to him, he has religiously upheld the Indian tradition of Guru Shishya Parampara. I mean, excellent introduction, which I hardly deserve, has been made by Professor Anil Monga. Professor Anil Monga, I thank you for this gracious introduction, which I hardly deserve. Friends, today we would have the privilege of hearing Professor Upinder Sani on the theme Women in Economics with a focus on Nobel Prize in Economics for 2023, awarded to Professor Claudia Gorton with a view to avoid repetition. I will share with you only three things. One, the number of economists who have been conferred with this award, and their geographical location and their gender distribution. Additionally, I will highlight the broad areas covered by Nobel Prizes in economics and related disciplines. The Nobel Prize in Economics, friends, officially known as the Sveriges Riksbank Award in Economic Sciences, was instituted in 1968 by the Central Bank of Sweden on its 300th anniversary in the memory of Alfred Nobel. It is not part of the original Nobel Prize series. In common parlance, in common language, however, this prize is also known as Nobel Prize in Economics along with other disciplines. Since its inception in 1968, 55 Nobel Prize in Economics have been awarded to 93 economists and social scientists, as many a times the awards are shared. In terms of country breakup, the majority of the recipient, 68, that is 73%, are from US. And there are four within this having dual citizenship, followed by 7 from UK, constituting 8% of the total. One of the recipient is from India. Only 3 continents have been represented. North America, Europe and Asia, other continents are not represented so far Nobel Prize in Economics are concerned. In terms of gender distribution, it's noteworthy that only 3 women have received Nobel Prize in Economics till date. Out of 3, 2 shared prize with others, while Professor Claudia Golden, the focus of today's theme, received alone, and thus women constitute merely 3% of the total recipient. This is the gender breakup. Now coming to the broad theme of Nobel Prizes in economics. I have done this classification of my own. It's not a standardized classification. To me, these prizes can be categorized into 4 categories: economic theory, applied economics, research methodology and empirical research, and finally, interdisciplinary areas of economics. I know we have a paucity of time, and thus I will confine one to the last category, that's the interdisciplinary areas of economics. Rest we can discuss later on. Interestingly, friend, the inauguration of the Nobel Prize series in 1969 in economics started with the interdisciplinary category, namely econometrics. Econometrics is a traditional interdisciplinary area combining economics, mathematics, and statistics. The interdisciplinary areas later on, however, have gone beyond traditional areas like social sciences and have been extended to science and technology disciplines, and thus have widened the frontiers of knowledge of economics has gained considerably because of awarding scientists and social scientists working in the intersection area with economics. The new interdisciplinary areas recognized and awarded in the Nobel Prize include, these are the areas which are recent origin: behavioral economics, having interaction with social sciences, integration of climate change into macroeconomic analysis, technological innovations in macroeconomic analysis, economic governance, psychological research in economic science, the interdependence of economic, social, and institutional phenomena, public choice theory, bringing economics and political science and public administration closer, sustainable techniques for economic forecasting, and statistical techniques for economic forecasting and application of economic principle to the study of law. 2 specific instances of interdisciplinary recognition in Nobel Prizes include Herbert A. Simon, a political scientist turned psychologist and computer science scholar, awarded in 1978. I have taught his theory of decision making to the students of public administration. And the second award goes to political scientist Eleanor Ostrom, and the first female recipient in 2009. That she is the first to get Nobel Prize as a female recipient. Now, the recent, just venturing into Professor Sahni's area, the recent Nobel Prize in Economics in 2023, awarded to Claudia Golden, while seemingly focused on women's labor market outcomes, reveals deeper interdisciplinary roots. Golden's research deals with factors affecting women's wages, incorporating economics, history, because she has made use of 200 data from the US, gender studies, sociological and cultural studies, and education. As she aptly put it, I'm quoting her, she says, and those inequalities are inequalities that occur within household. She says that inequalities start occurring in the household and go to the workplaces. That is her statement. Now, unquote, highlighting the social phenomena within household that extend beyond pure economic factors. Friends, to sum up, the recognition of interdisciplinary studies in Nobel Prizes in economics reflects a positive trend, which interestingly aligned with the mandate of the National Education Policy 2020 and emphasizes the importance of interdisciplinary approaches in advancing the frontiers of knowledge in economics. Thank you very much for your kind attention and patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Goman, for this very enlightening introduction. And now I request Dr. Nitin Arora to come up and introduce today's speaker, Dr. Arora.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's an opportunity to introduce a person like Professor Sane. Let me introduce her to the audience. Professor Sane is the senior most professor of economics, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Thank you, sir. She is having a rich teaching experience of over 34 years, and during her stay at department, she has supervised 8 PhD theses and 20 MPhil dissertations till date. She has led the department as chairperson twice over the period 2007 to 10 and 16 to 19. A Fulbright Nehru Fellow in year 2013. Professor Sane has remained the part of selection committee too. She is also a winner of DAD UGC bilateral exchange of academic fellowship in year 2015 and taught a course of intercultural management development process of Indian economy at the University of Würzburg, Germany during the summer semester of 2017. She has worked as member of Regional Advisory Committee of NABARD and assisted the Government of India on evaluation of state finances with respect to Punjab for finalizing the report of 14th Finance Commission. She was a nominee to Economy of Tomorrow project of a German research organization from 2013 onwards, a visiting scholar at Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore, for a 4-week duration program. Professor Sane has many publications to her credit in the form of research papers, edited chapters in books, then book reviews, editorials in newspapers, etc. Obviously, she has published with leading publishers like Sage, Emerald Insight, Elsevier, etc. She has an active participation. She is basically active participant in many academic activities and events because she has presented a score of papers in various national and international conferences, seminars, etc. She has chaired many such conferences and seminars. As a panelist, she has acted panelist and session chair in many national and international seminars also. She has conducted and attended many international and national workshops in the field of public policy and public finance. Obviously, she has worked in collaboration with the Government of India, the World Bank, then the corporate institutions like FICCI, CII. She has worked on some projects of ICSSR. She is also a reviewer and a member of editorial boards in several journals. She has remained as a editor of a famous journal of Punjab University, that is Punjab University Research Journal Arts. Then she has also a reviewer of e-content development for the postgraduate course, obviously introduced by the Government of India through its SWAYAM program, and has served as a member of a board of control of Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi. She is also the lifetime member of Indian Economic Association. So, ma'am, on the behalf of organizers, I welcome you to deliver this lecture. So, I invite Professor Pinder Sane to deliver the talk. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nitin, for introducing me. But thank you, Nitin, for introducing me. But you seem to have laid hands. Professor Kia Dharamveer, Professor Gumman, senior colleagues, students and friends, it's a matter of great honor for me that Professor Arun Grover asked me to deliver this lecture on Nobel Prize winner of economics in 2023, Claudia Goldin. I am thankful to him and all the members of SPSTI and CRIC for this opportunity. It is more gratifying as the Nobel Memorial Prize for Economic Sciences in 2023 has been awarded to Professor Goldin for having advanced our understanding of labor markets. Professor Gumman has given a very detailed introduction of the Nobel Prizes and also the breakup of the prizes that has been there. So I will pick up from where he left. And Professor Grover, when he asked me to deliver this lecture, also asked me that I should be talking about not only the contribution of Claudia Goldin, but also something on other aspects of women in economics, which I will be talking about. Excuse me. Okay, all right. So as Professor Gumman has already pointed out certain aspects of these prizes, the Nobel Prize and the Swedish Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel have been awarded to women only 65 times between 1901 and 2023, not even one woman each year. The first woman to win a Nobel Prize was Marie Curie, who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903 with her husband Pierre Curie and Henry Becquerel. Curie is also the first person and the only woman to have won Nobel Prize more than once. In 1911, she won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. 19 women have won the Nobel Peace Prize, 17 in literature, 13 in physiology or medicine, 8 have won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, 5 in physics, and 3 have won Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, which is just about 2% in 63 years since it was started in 1969. 65 of 970 awardees in all were women, which is less than 7%. Nobel Peace Prize 2023 has been awarded to Nargis Mohammadi while in prison for her fight against the oppression of women in Iran and fight to promote human rights and freedom for all. I'm talking about this because it's important to mention that 3 of the 4 women have been awarded in the domains which are heavily male-dominated, physics, medicine, and economics. And except 2009, when 5 women won the Nobel Prize, it's this in 2023 that 4 women have won the Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize for Physiology has been shared by Katalin Karikó with the Drew Weissman and Liu shared the Nobel Prize in Physics with 2 others, and 2 of the 4 women awardees have worked on issues concerning women. Claudia Goldin of the United States has been awarded the Nobel Memorial Prize for Economic Sciences in 2023 for having advanced our understanding of women's labor market outcomes. She's the 3rd woman awardee of this prize. As Professor Gumman has already pointed out, Alistair Ostrom shared the award in 2009 with Williamson for her analysis of economic governance, especially the commons. And Esther Duflo shared it in 2019 with Abhijit Banerjee and Michael Kramer for their experimental approach to alleviating global poverty. Claudia Goldin is not only a pioneer in the field of gender economics, but the first woman to be offered tenure in economics department of Harvard University in 1989. Her wide-ranging work has delved into the causes of the gender wage gap, the evolution of women's participation in the job market over the past 200 years, and the implications for the future of the labor force. The history of economics has largely been written by men about men. Even when the economics of family became an important field of study in the 1970s, the woman's role was hardly talked about. Golden's book, Career and Family 2021, places women squarely at the center of the family economic story. Claudia Golden's research paves the way for policymakers to address the pay gaps between men and women. As we all know, that women enter job market for a while, then they get married and get busy with the family and childbirth. And by the time they are ready to re-enter, they may not get the same status, same job, or the same wages. Women also have to adjust their timings as per the family requirements. So it may or may not be possible in all jobs. So the study of women job markets is fascinating, as there are innumerable variations. She says women gave birth to modern labor economics. She has written, because economists study variations in behavior, women provided an abundance of that, she wrote. Men, by and large, were not as interesting since their participation and hours varied far less. Her 200-year series on women's labor force participation rates in the US innovatively used a variety of data sources, since official labor market statistics for a long time were collected only on men. She found that the labor force participation rate graph was U-shaped, showing high initial levels in predominantly agrarian settings, a downslide with the spread of industrialization, followed by a rise as the sectoral mix turned towards services. So this is the picture which shows that first the women were participating and working when the economies were agrarian, and when the industrial economies took over, then they were dropped out of the workforce, and then finally they have again been a part of the workforce when the economies have transformed into service economies. She found that gender wage disparities persisted within occupation categories, not because of deficient skill or education, but starting with the birth of a woman's first child. She also gave a name to greedy jobs, where promotion was contingent on people being ready to work very long hours and travel incessantly in exchange for astronomical remuneration. Award for Sun is a reminder for an affirmative action for women empowerment through participation and equality at workspace. So this is where she has shown that during childbirth, women take off from work, depending on formal, informal sectors and the countries in which they are placed, they fall out of the workforce, and then due to the societal pressures, and then they may or may not be able to go back to work. Higher education levels and contraception brought a marginal change. Women are severely underrepresented in the global labor market. Around 50% of women work or actively seek work for income, compared to 80% of men. The gender differences in participation are fundamentally driven by variation in women's participation rates. Men's participation rates are broadly constant across time and countries. The participation gaps between men and women are particularly large in South Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa, where they sometimes exceed 50 percentage points. A century ago, similarly large differences in participation rates between women and men were observed in North America and Europe. But over the past century, women's labor force participation more than tripled in many high-income countries, arguably one of the most significant economic and social changes to have occurred in these countries in the past 100 years. Equal participation, however, does not imply gender equality, as gender gaps exist in many other dimensions of the labor market. They not only earn less, but are less likely to reach the top of the career ladder. When women work, they earn less across the OECD. There are examples that they earn on an average 13% less than men. So we are talking about the advanced countries here. Women tend to take jobs with flexible schedule. This often widens wage gaps. Prior to Golden's work, a coherent framework for studying the labor market outcomes of women was lacking. Both data and studies on the contribution of women were not considered important. It was in the middle of the 20th century that some studies on the female participation in the labor force and their contribution to economic development were carried on in the US. Golden pushed these strands of literature forward and partly united them in important ways. By pioneering a framework in which education, fertility, and productivity are connected to the evolution of women's aspirations and identity, as well as institutional change, she put women at the center of the analysis. Golden highlighted that a woman's role in the job market is not influenced merely by socioeconomic factors. Dynamics at home determines her choices. Social norms, institutional barriers, and the need to balance work with the family all constrain female labor supply choices. Golden's research approach, based on history and economics, has yielded results that have often challenged conventional wisdom. For example, in one of her studies in 1990, Golden overturned the previously widely accepted view that female labor participation is a positive function of development. Piecing together multiple sources of earnings, data dating back to the 19th century, Golden also provided the first evidence of how gender earnings gaps evolve with development. So this is what she did in 1990. She has described the changing roles of women in the last half century as among the grandest advances in society and the economy. She has shown how they have outpaced men in education, poured into the labor force, and found meaning in their work. In the first half of the 20th century, societal changes made it possible for more women to work. These shifts included the rise in high school graduation rates, technological advances that made housework less demanding, and the growth of office jobs. A major change happened in 1970, the beginning of what Golden calls the Quiet Revolution. There was a sharp inflection point in the likelihood that women worked, in their attachment to their careers, and in their ability to jointly make decisions with their spouses. In a working paper published the day she was awarded the Nobel, Why Women Won, she noted that the period between 1963 to 73 was crucial for women in the US. It included the passage of the Equal Pay Act and the admission of women to many Ivy League schools. Increasingly, women's occupations began to define one's fundamental identity and societal worth, she wrote. Yet her research demonstrates women still lag behind men in various ways in their pay, their workforce participation, and the share who reach the top of professions. She has explained a driving force behind the gender inequity that remains in the American workforce. Employers have begun paying disproportionately more for long, inflexible hours. Anyone who scales back for a time or who's unavailable on weekends or evenings is at a disadvantage. As a result, it makes sense in highly educated couples for one parent, usually the father, to be on call at work while the mother is on call at home. Women don't step back from work because they have rich husbands. They have rich husbands because they step back from work, said Golden. She has disproved the conventional wisdom that women are paid less because they choose lower paying careers by showing that the pay gap is larger within occupations and largest in the highest earning ones like medicine and law. If equally productive workers were paid the same on an hourly basis, the differences in pay would disappear. Closing these remaining gender gaps would require flexibility in where and when work gets done, her research explains. Claudia has created a very large body of knowledge on these issues. Understanding women's role in the labor is important for society. Thanks to Claudia Golden's groundbreaking research, we now know much more about the underlying factors and which barriers may need to be addressed in the future, says Jacob Swenson, chair of the Committee for the Prize in Economic Sciences. Golden's work is restricted to the country she knows best and uncovers the barriers women are up against even when they have surpassed men in skills and education, as in the US. But the U-shaped curve has been validated against cross-country data sufficiently for it to have become a universal template against which to compare the historical movement of participation rates over time in any particular country. Even though India's social structures vary, lessons can be drawn from her work for effective policy prescriptions. Female labor force participation rate in India is less than 33% at present, and there are studies to show that there are huge wage gaps at all levels. However, unlike the United States, India has always had paid maternity leave in the formal sector, with the rules substantially liberalized in recent years. In the informal sector, there is no paid maternity leave, but no career graph which penalizes discontinuity. The availability of childcare in a variety of forms within and outside the home has made children less of an obstructive factor, at least as compared to the United States. Because in India, in a large number of cases, the children are being taken care of by their grandparents within the homes, which is not very common in the Western countries. It is unpaid care of the elderly, even more than care of the young, that keeps women out of the labor force. Now, this is a very important aspect, which is normally not taken into account when we discuss the job market for women. That keeps women out of the labor force. The sharp rise in urban India of paid care for the elderly typically substitutes for children in the diaspora and does not actually release women residing in India from unpaid elder care. India is aging. Senior citizens, defined as those above age 60, are projected to more than double from present levels to 300 million by 2050. Unpaid care within the home, typically by a daughter or daughter-in-law, is considered the proud hallmark of a caring Indian home, as distinct from what is seen as execrable Western practice of outsourcing care for the elderly. Childcare has a predictable time profile, whereas elder care does not and can extend into a decade, sometimes two. Women caring for the elderly with physical or mental impairments are left to cope on their own. Unlike a childcare break, an elder care break can wear out the young caregiver enough to render her unfit for re-entry into the labor force. Golden's award must make us think about these issues, as fewer opportunities and earning disparities limit the optimal utilization of human capital. A Stanford study, now I'll turn to gender discrimination in academia with a focus on economics. A Stanford study reveals that for more than a decade, women have earned more doctoral degrees than men in the US. Despite that, women still lag behind men in getting tenure, getting published, and reaching leadership positions in academia. It is emphasized that academia is based on meritocracy, that everything is neutral and based on the scientific value of research. However, this is not true. The problem is deeper. We are fortunate here in Punjab University that we have a different scenario altogether at the enrollment level as well as at the level of the teaching and leadership. For scholars working in fields with a preponderance of research traditionally associated with women-female PhDs are more likely to suffer a triple disadvantage on the job market. They are penalized for being women, for not doing a PhD in a masculinized field, and for not adopting man-type research practices. Women in academia are doing too much non-promotable work, even though the primary factors on which their performance is evaluated are research and teaching. But they do more than that. They advise students, serve on committees, mentor junior researchers, referee and participate in professional associations. Women do more of such work than men. Even though the enrollment of females has increased tremendously in the last few decades globally, but the presence of women in academia hasn't increased with the same intensity. There are numerous studies which corroborate this fact scientifically in most countries of the world, both advanced and emerging. They also do not reach the positions of leadership. In India, women may be in good numbers in the universities and conventional degree colleges, but they lag behind in IITs, ICERs, medical education, etc. Economics has long remained a male domain, and men continue to dominate mainstream thinking. Women remain underrepresented and discriminated against in economics, in higher places of policy making, economic institutions, and academia. The number of Nobel Prizes awarded to women is one instance. And the other and the most shocking one is that in 1963, Anna Schwartz and Milton Friedman co-authored the most influential book, A Monetary History of the United States, 1867 to 1960, which later guided public policy across countries. Schwartz was not awarded the Nobel Prize with Friedman. The awarding committee said that the book was one of Friedman's most profound and almost most distinguished achievements. And we as students of economics do not know much about Anna Schwartz for this reason, probably. There are many more women economists like Schwartz who have made an outsized impact on the field. For example, Joan Robinson, Ursula Hicks, Rosa Luxemburg, etc. Some economists in the recent times are offering an innovative range of new ideas about a greener, healthier, and more inclusive way forward. And they happen to be women. Esther Duflo, MIT, Stephanie Kelton, Stony Brook University, Mariana Mazzucato, and Carlotta Perez, both from University College London, and Kate Raworth from Oxford University, are united in one thing: their amazement at the way economics has been defined and debated to date. They are revolutionizing their field by questioning everything from value and debt to growth and GDP. They argue for getting out of the theories and into the field. Some of the notable Indian female economists have been Padma Desai, Krishna Bhardwaj, Utsa Patnaik, Ishar Ahluwalia, Indira Rajaraman, Geeta Gopinath, and so on. However, women have largely been absent in India's economic and social policy making, even though we have a woman finance minister, but she's only the second one after Mrs. Gandhi. This underrepresentation at the high table impacts the well-being of half the population, especially when an emergency like the COVID-19 pandemic strikes. With few lobbying for their interests, it's only natural that women's issues and concerns get short shrift in a patriarchal society like India. In 2007, the Planning Commission set up the Feminist Economists Group under the chairpersonship of Saida Hamid, who also steered the Committee on the National Health Policy 2002 and served for 10 years as member of the Planning Commission. This group represents the first and only such effort in bringing together India's most accomplished economists in gendering state policy. Thanks to their efforts in shaping the 11th and 12th five-year plans, the state recognized women not just as a social group, but as important agents of economic growth and change, and included gender as an important criteria in policy consideration across sectoral plans. Does the gender makeup of economics affect policy making and outcomes? Specifically, would greater representation of women lead to a more diverse set of policy questions being asked and perhaps to an alternative set of conclusions? The answers to these questions depend, of course, on whether men and women economists really do have different views on matters of policy. Female economists place much less confidence in the market than their male counterparts do when it comes to solving problems in the economy and society. There are significant differences in opinion between men and women economists in core economic principles and methodology, market solutions versus government intervention, government spending, taxation and redistribution, environmental protection, and gender and equal opportunities. This provides a clue as to why there may be fewer women in economics than in STEM fields. If women hold views at odds with the perspectives of more senior male colleagues on research and policy questions, women might be less likely than men to be hired, promoted, and have their work published in top journals. Studies on the impact of increasing female representation in policy offices show better provision of public goods, especially in matters of education and health, which is one good reason among many why more such women who can reshape and reimagine societal economic future and non-technocratic roles need to come through the system. In the European Union, the women are actually in decision-making roles and in policy offices. They are actively participating in shaping the policies. However, in the United States and countries like India, we do not have direct participation of women economists except in advisory roles. It's not only the women who are uneducated or at the lower rung of the society who suffer from wage gaps and discrimination, but also the intellectual elite, as in the case of women economists. World Economic Forum 2024, which is one of the largest global congregations of heads of the state, industry bigwigs, and heads of national and global economic institutions, has underlined the importance of policy focus on women's empowerment. Ensuring their better health could add $1 trillion to the global economy annually by 2040. Too many women are locked out of economic opportunities, which is not only unfair, but also harms growth and resilience for all. According to IMF analysis, in countries with greater gender inequality, just closing the gap in women's labor force participation could increase economic output by an average of 35%. Progress, however, is slow to come, and shocks such as health and climate disasters, social unrest, and war continue to worsen gender inequality by directly affecting women's lives and livelihoods or keeping them out of school and work. Appropriate economic and financial policies can help change these negative outcomes, improving economies by supporting the recovery and building resilience against future shocks. A dividend for women, in other words, is a dividend for all. Women have long been an untapped economic resource in the world. Former Japanese Prime Minister late Shinzo Abe in 2013 decided to change that by introducing a policy of womenomics, a policy based on the idea that a country can boost its economy by getting more women into the workforce, rewarded with jobs and salaries that match their skills, talents, and ambitions. In the past few decades, the importance of participation of women in economic activities has started receiving worldwide attention. International organizations are making efforts to ensure that women across the globe explore and take part in income-generating activities. The low and middle-income countries of the world, which are yet to explore the abundant benefits that can obtain through full integration of the female labor force in the mainstream workforce, need to put more emphasis on the participation of women. For India to become a 5 trillion economy, reducing gender disparities in the economic domain will have to be given a higher priority to enable them to play a bigger role in economic growth and development. Despite recent economic advances, India's gender balance in the economic domain remains among the lowest in the world. There are well-proven solutions to adopt gender-sensitive macroeconomic actions. Increase investment in women's human capital. The gains from providing women equal access to food, healthcare, and education are especially large in emerging and developing economies. Enabling women to work outside the home or start their business. Reforms to taxation, public spending, financial infrastructure, and regulations, as well as labor markets can help. Providing access to quality and affordable childcare frees up more women to work and also creates jobs directly. Narrowing the gap between the share of men and women who work is one of the very important reforms policymakers can make to revive economies amid the weakest medium-term growth outlook in recent years. Once again, I would like to thank Professor Grover for asking me to deliver this lecture, because it is because of this that I have gone through various articles and a lot of research publications, etc., and have come to know the situation that is there in, unfortunately, in academia, where we think that we are occupying a pride of place, but globally that is not what the statistics show. Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Stated that there is a difference of opinion
Amongst economists,
among
male and female.
male and 4
हाँ जी.
Can you elaborate this? Because very difficult to find empirical evidence.
Yes. So this was.
Is it perception based or some?
No. So this is something which I hit upon only this morning, and it has they have given some reasons for it, but I can forward the paper to you, but I don't think that they have given any detail of all of this. And this is something which has set me thinking that one should look at these aspects if that is actually true.
Can suggest that this can be some of the hypotheses.
These can be for future research, yes. But insofar as the intervention of the government vis-a-vis the market is concerned, that I'm very sure that that is the general thought which the female economists, and of course many male economists as well, harbor as compared to most of the men, because they favor markets, whereas women in countries like India, where there are so many social issues, they go cautiously and look at the role of the market, of the government. Yeah.
Just not on very serious note, but as an undergraduate student of economics in the late 70s, I remember reading Paul SPSTI on measurement of national income, saying that there needs to be, imputation of value of domestic work. And I think Studetsky himself died in the 1960s. So it's I would be interested in knowing, I don't think there's anything that
No, there has been,
yeah.
There has been a lot of debate regarding that, and not only in the Western economies, but also in countries like India, that there should be some kind of economic value which should be placed on the women's work at home, whether the women are actually working or not working outside the house. But any concrete evidence to show that is not okay.
On imputation of the value of domestic.
Yeah. So have we been able to assign any economic value to the work that a woman does at home? Yeah. Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Yeah, that needs to be, yes, that needs to be highlighted. Yeah.
This year, the student council won the election by saying that for women, girls, that we will be, they promised menstrual free.
Okay.
The question is, what is the basis of discrimination, given that we talked about care for children, care for elderly? So now, after completing my education, if I go to workplace, in my CV, and if it is made a kind of right, that in every month I will not be available for this amount of time. So won't it form another basis of discrimination? What is your take on it?
Well, yeah, that's right. But then the biological needs have to be taken care of. So at some point in the 21st century, maybe the youngsters thought about that, although everybody has worked despite that, always. So yeah, there are certain things which are biologically. Sorry, say again.
Like ma'am talked about care economy and two things which are there, but we should be counting them.
Yeah.
Today, is it even practical, ma'am, to make them part of national accounting?
No. It's important to make it a part of national accounting. You see, COVID has shown us that there is even further more, discrimination in most of the homes, I mean, this is not a research investigation, this is an observation. In most of the homes where the couples were working online, young couples were working online, and whenever the children, since the children were also at home all the time during that period, and whenever the children needed attention, the home needed attention, the food needed to be cooked, it was the sole responsibility of the woman to do that. However, I mean, it is not really, I mean, this could also have been taken care of by the man from time to time. But we have seen so many instances where women had to fall out of the labor force during COVID because of these reasons, because they were not able to give enough time. In fact, they also said that we were better off in the offices because the expectations from us were much less. We were supposed to be in the office for a certain period of time, let's say 9 to 5. At least during that time, we were concentrating on our work. But during COVID, that was not possible. So that has really shown us the kind of discrepancy that is there in the treatment that is meted out to working women versus men.
If I could just add to that as another address question, that perhaps it's the social factors which are dominating, and that is something that.
Yeah, it's the social factors. Yeah, but you know the
about whether it be discrimination or not, and you said like this biological need, which the males are now more openly talking about, which is not the social taboos was not talked about earlier. Now, when these have become open conversations, there will not be discrimination, or there ought not to be discrimination. There is more acceptance of the reality.
And also something which needs to be taken into account by the young scholars is that we have grown up with a perception that all of this is happening only in India. Whereas you've seen that if Anna Schwartz could have been discriminated against at that time for being awarded and for not being awarded a Nobel Prize, the situation is the same all over the world, notably in the advanced economies as well. Well, no, but is it always awarded only to the first author? No, but when they got people, no, even when Abhijit Banerjee and so that could have been shared. No, but it could have been shared with Anna Schwartz. It is still being sold as a joint book. Yeah. So it could have been shared. We are not saying that she would be awarded separately, but it could have been shared. I mean, she should have been mentioned at least. So.
I have one question. Like in one of the slides you showed how like women well in their career, but when it comes to like pregnancy, they have to take a leave, and it is necessary for them. And that is the period when they have to take off from their career. And after that, it is a little bit hard for them to join again in their career. So how can this thing be, recognized? Because this is always going to be there, like biologically.
Yeah, this is biologically, yeah.
So how can more inclusive environment would be taken?
See, to my mind, the inclusivity could be introduced in a manner that when at least the level at which the woman has left, she is able to procure a job of that level, of that salary, of those wages, etc. Because when they fall out of the labor force during childbirth, then when they go back, most of them do not get the jobs that they had left or the level of jobs that they had left. We are not talking about the formal sector. We are only talking about, and we are a very large informal economy. And that is these are the things which we are looking at, that the society must take cognizance of that, and the policies be framed in a manner that they are not at a disadvantage because of the biological constraint that they have. Yes, and we also said that they are not less educated or less competent. It's only because of these factors that they fall out of the labor force and are not able to get back to the same level or the same salary.
Recently, All India Higher Education Survey report was released, and in that enrollment in higher education, there was more participation of female students. And if we talk about present enrollment in Punjab University, there are more.
Yes.
Is there any particular reason why it's that?
No, that I already said, that we are in a fortunate environment where it's not only that we have more female students, but we have a good number. I have not studied the number, unfortunately, the good number of female faculty as well, and a woman and women rather in leadership roles. For instance, the vice chancellor, the present UI, the present dean of arts, and so on. But that is not the norm. It's an exception. So even in, if we look at the overall enrollment globally, or even at the level of the country, you will not find the same statistics. And the dropout rate for female children at the school level is much higher than the males, although the performance of the female children is better than the male children. Actually, it's a very complicated topic, which has a lot of social dimension.
In sciences, we call it the leaky pipeline.
Yeah, exactly. I read about it too. Yes.
There are many more girls doing much better when they are younger.
Yeah.
But gradually they drop off for one reason
Or the other. Yes.
Unisocial.
Yes. No, I read this morning, leaky pipe syndrome. Yeah.
So can we take a few questions from the Zoom?
Yeah, sure, if there are any.
Can you announce to the Zoom participants?
Okay, if anybody has any, the participants who joined online, do they have any questions? Please.
Hello, Pinderji.
Hello.
It's Samanderi here.
Hanji,
How are
Hanji,
you?
Hanji. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. Nice to see you. Sorry,
Yeah.
I could not attend in person, but
No problem.
it was
No.
very informative talk, very nice talk. Good to see you also.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. No questions.
All right, thank you so much. There aren't any questions.
Request someone ready and another ready to give their experience.
Their comments, yeah. So Amanjot Kaur, maybe. Yeah. She's a postdoc in your department, right?
Ma'am, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, no question, but a very valid point about elderly care. Childcare is something that has been spoken about since times immemorial, but elder care is a real thing, and it's been highlighted. So that is, I thought,
I'm not too sure, but I think it's because of my age bracket that I'm in that I thought about that probably, because one could probably not have thought about it earlier.
no, ma'am,
So
it's absolutely right because
yes,
with
yes.
grandparents at home, they take up like it's not about time. We never looked at it like that, but it's real. I mean, they deserve
Yeah.
more care than anybody else.
And like I said, that the childcare is has a definite time frame,
That's
whereas
true.
elderly care has no time frame.
Yes, like you
And
said,
it
a
can
decade,
really
2 decades, anything.
it can sap the energy to a great extent because you are also
Yes.
growing older and the demands are also growing more on you.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Any other observation or question? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. You can do your remarks and then continue the over.
Let me. I think it is important that planning commission should be.
उसमें बोलो।
Some of my suggestions are, one, every year we prepare annual plan, which is handled by the Planning Commission of India. And they also come out with 5 years plan. There's also an annual budget every state government and government of India prepare. Likewise, there is a Department of Women and Child Care. Now we hardly hear this about the schemes they manage. My own experience, having worked with the government for more than 36 years at the highest up to the highest position, I think the women, there should be chapter on women related activities in budget, like as we provide for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Unless women get empowered by way of good education, employment, etc., we cannot say that our society is moving forward. And a very large number of women, even if they get educated, are not engaged in meaningful activities except managing homes. That is a very stark reality. And even while coming to the employment, I see lot of sort of people don't like to employ women. I mean, there is a bias against employing women if they get equally good candidates out of the male community. And there is no mandate as yet while appointing on a large scale. There should be a woman included in the board of selection. Even UPSC at times fought on this by making appointments to the gazetted officers like Central Services, All India Services, and other services like DRD and many other agencies which recruit scientists or officers. There is no mandate that women should be included in the board of selection. So somebody should study these aspects and come out with the guidance, so that that would be the way moving forward. And every university must include Center for Women Education. You don't require a huge number of people there. A couple of experts along with some support staff can handle this job, because it is basically data collection and coming out with certain conclusions where we are faulty. Certainly, we cannot provide reservation for any differentiate between women and men. I mean, it is constitutionally and legally unsustainable, not sustainable. But affirmative action can be and should be promoted by way of certain guidelines. So these are my observations, and I think it has made me think to come out with a set of, we'll plan a session of 3-4 lectures, specific lectures, as to how this can be handled. Having seen my sisters, my wife, and many others in the family working, I see the reason why women should be encouraged to work. It not only contributes reduces the inequality, but also it contributes to the well-being of the people, which is far more important than making contribution to the GDP or economic growth. Unless women are happy, we cannot have a just society. That is, so these are my some of the cuff remarks, may not be based on any data or something like that, but based on my experience. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy this lecture has been, and I must commend the professors who organized and who picked up the theme and collected so much of it. Well, नहीं भाई, आपके फिजिक्स डिपार्टमेंट को अगर थैंक्स नहीं करें घर में झगड़ा हो जाएगा, तो इसलिए मैं सबसे पहले तो आई शुड थैंक फिजिक्स डिपार्टमेंट व्हिच enabled us to be here, and they have been generous enough to provide this venue whenever we wanted. At any time, they have been extremely good. I'm also grateful to the organizers and speakers, especially. But for you, this talk would not have. And I want to make a request to you that I can discuss with you. I would like to hold this kind of lecture at many more places. It is important that we carry this message among other areas. I would like to hold these lectures, let us say, a couple of districts in Haryana and possibly part of Punjab, if we get grants. I can manage grant from Haryana. I will also try to manage grant from Punjab because it doesn't cost much. Only travel and some kind of. Thank you very much.
So in the month of February, in fact, on 7th February, we have a memorial meeting in honor of late Dr. Nitya Anand, the former director of Central Drug Research Laboratory, Lucknow. He was a renowned and pioneering biochemist. This will most likely be held in Amity University, Mohali. No, sorry. It has been shifted to Department of Chemistry, Punjab University, a memorial meeting. We have been holding a number of memorial meetings to honor the recently deceased scientists and technocrats of repute. So this is in that series. On February 21, which is the birthday of S.S. Bhatnagar, there will be a lecture in Chemical Engineering and Technology Department, most likely under the venue of CRICSI, who are our collaborators again. And this is likely to be by one of the scientists who got the Bhatnagar Award in 2023, happens to be from Chandigarh, proud moment for us. He is Dr. Ashwini Kumar from IMTech. And from this series, the Nobel lectures, there are 2 remaining lectures. We hope to finish them by February and March. The one on Nobel Prize for Peace, Professor Ashutosh Kumar has agreed, our Ashutosh Kumar. But I could not extract a date from him. So hopefully in the near future. And then the Physics Nobel Prize remains to be talked about very soon. Thank you.